Zelda asked me earlier today, Sifu, what's the meditation talk tonight? And I said, I don't know. So we went through a couple of ideas, and we're going to do a mishmash of the internal challenge of the week and the question of the week, which I'm blanking on right now. Any of you guys remember what this question of the week is? Zelda, what's the question of the week again? Yes, thank you. What's your spiritual practice? I got it. Thank you. I knew it was something to do with spirituality, but so this is it could go in any direction. It's like being focused and having a spiritual practice. What does that mean? I picked a couple of readings out from some of the books that we have in the dojo, and we're just going to kind of discuss this idea. But I had a great question last night from one of the more senior students who's asking about this basic idea of like the relationship between, or the difference between, being intensely focused in meditation and like being calm or being able to let go. And I'll say, when I started meditating, I had an experience that was like really nice, and it was because of my ability to just let go and be in the present. But I've had many meditations that are quite stressful, especially when I'm testing. And as those of you guys who have been here for a while know, for the green sash and above, there is a meditation part of the test, and you have to sit still. And if you move, you fail the test. And some of those meditations, let's just say, they have not been super relaxing. I've been like, oh God, don't move. You're going to fail. Don't stop thinking and just be totally quiet and shut up and don't do anything. And like, my brain wasn't really in a nice, peaceful state. It was just in a like, just bear down, and for the love of God, don't move at all. And that's not really what we're looking for. But as my Sifu said, when somebody asked him about the test, somebody was like, well, do you think you can pass that test without really like being good at meditation? And he said, yes. But to pass it, you either have to be good at meditation so that you can get deep and be still, or you have to have a very strong will to be able to sit totally still without moving for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. You have to have some kind of internal strength there. No, you can't just cram for that starting a week ahead of time and hope to pass. It's impossible. So when we meditate, we try to make it more of like an enjoyable experience, right? You want to be able to sit still, but still be relaxed. And this is, when I say intense focus, the intense part, I think, throws a lot of people off, and people think that means get stressed, be intense. But what I really mean is you are so single pointedly focused on the breath that it fills up your awareness, and there is no mind wandering, because you are so intensely focused in the present that your mind doesn't go. And if it does, you bring it right back, and it's a gentle, easy process. So if you ask me what my spiritual practice is, I'll tell you, I've tried a couple of different things. I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I went to church decent amount when I was younger. And I'm not saying anything bad about that. It's just not for me. It didn't work. And I feel still to this day kind of claustrophobic when I'm in church. Like, I feel like it's hard for me to breathe. And that's not what a lot of people experience. Got it? For me, meditation through my martial arts practice is what works for me. And one of the interesting things that my Sifu would say whenever people ask about this idea is like, meditation works with anything, right? I asked him once, I told him like a couple of years in my practice, I was like, Sifu, I'm supposed to be Catholic, but I don't know, it doesn't really work for me. So what should I do? And one of the things that he said is, you could just try to get the most out of your Catholic roots and use your meditation and your martial arts practice to kind of strengthen that and connect more fully with it. Because there's nothing in the Bible that says thou shalt not sit still and breathe. Like, it's totally okay. It's cool to meditate. It's cool to take your awareness within. Some people totally misunderstand we had a student who's a little kid. He was like 5 years old, 6 years old, and his mom was, I assume still is, like a very devout Christian. I'm not sure what denomination, but she came in one day and she asked us, she was like, I heard that you guys do meditation. I know you don't do it in the little kids class, but I'm worried, like if my son stays practicing for a while, I know he's going to start meditating in class. And I was told that that's like Satan worshiping. And I heard somebody say there's this phrase in Buddhism that if you see the Buddha on the street, you should kill him. And what's that teaching? And there is a lot of misunderstanding. That is an actual phrase. That's what they say in Buddhism. If you see the Buddha on the street, kill him. And I could try to explain that, but it's enough to just understand that could probably throw some people off. and so I totally get it. But so much of the conflict between different spiritual beliefs is just pure misunderstanding. It's not understanding what the other people are saying and believing. It's not understanding what you're supposed to be saying and believing. Let's just say there's been a lot of not so great stuff done in the name of Christianity over the last couple of millennia that I think Jesus would probably be like, that's not what I had in mind. So in any case, for me, it's meditation, it's mindfulness, it's martial arts. I love the physical component to it. It's like, it makes me feel like I'm using my whole being in my spiritual practice, and I love that. But it doesn't have to be that for anybody. So I'm not trying to say that this is what you have to believe and this is what you have to do for your spiritual practice, but there are some ideas here that you might take on and kind of explore for yourself. And there are things that meld very well with our practice of meditation, of mindfulness, of Tai Chi, of Kung Fu, of being a great partner, and lots of stuff. So we got 3 different books and 2 things from each one that I'm going to read. The first one is Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. This is a wonderful talk, a wonderful book from Shunryu Suzuki. It's actually, it's like texts from talks that he gave over the years. And the first one is called Breathing, which is great. And it's got this really wonderful concept or kind of like way of thinking of breathing in the self that I love. So when we practice Zazen, that's just sitting meditation, our mind always follows our breathing. When we inhale, the air comes into the inner world. When we exhale, the air goes out to the outer world. The inner world is limitless, and the outer world is also limitless. We say inner world or outer world, but actually there is just one whole world. The air comes in and goes out like someone passing through a swinging door. If you think I breathe, the I is extra. There is no you to say I. So he's referring to the ego. What we call I is just a swinging door which moves when we inhale and when we exhale. It just moves. That is all. When your mind is pure and calm enough to follow this movement, there's nothing. No I, no world, no mind, nor body, just a swinging door. So when we practice Zazen, all that exists is the movement of the breathing. So I love this idea. We're so attached to this thing that we think of as I, to this ego, to this self-concept, which really ultimately is, on some level, just a swinging door that air is coming in and going out of. It's a tube where we take food in one end and it goes out the other end. We are just like, what we think of as I and separate is really, there's not that much to us. We make such a huge deal about it. And it's like, I am totally separate from you. And I'm so much better than that person and so much worse than that person and all of that. It's a bunch of nonsense. It's an illusion. We are a swinging door. Inhale pushes us this way. Exhale pushes us that way. So just try to remember that in meditation. Next one's called, this was from a section that's called Nirvana, the Waterfall. Now, the opening says, our life and death are the same thing. When we realize this fact, we have no fear of death anymore, nor actual difficulty in our life. I went to Yosemite National Park and I saw some huge waterfalls. The highest of these is 1,430 feet high, and from it, the water comes down like a curtain thrown from the top of a mountain. It does not seem to come down swiftly as you might expect. It seems to come down very slowly because of the distance. And the water does not come down as one stream, but is separated into many tiny streams. From a distance, it looks like a curtain, and I thought it must be a very difficult experience for each drop of water to come down from the top of such a high mountain. It takes time, a long time for the water finally to reach the bottom of the waterfall. And it seems to me that our human life might be like this. We have many difficult experiences in our life. But at the same time, I thought the water was not originally separated, but was one whole river. Only when it is separated does it have some difficulty in falling. It is as if the water does not have any feeling when it is one whole river. Only when separated into many drops can it begin to have or express some feeling. When we see one whole river, we do not feel the living activity of the water, but when we dip a part of the water into a dipper, we experience some feeling of the water. And we also feel the value of the person who uses the water. Feeling ourselves in our water in this way, we cannot just use it in a material way. It is a living thing. So before we were born, we had no feeling. We were one with the universe. This is called mind only, or essence of mind, or big mind. After we are separated by birth from this oneness, as the water falling from the waterfall is separated by the wind and rocks, then we have feeling. You have difficulty because you have feeling. You attach to the feeling you have without knowing just how this kind of feeling is created. When you do not realize that you're one with the river, one with the universe, you have fear. Whether it is separated into drops or not, water is water. Our life and death are the same thing. When we realize this fact, we have no fear of death anymore, no actual difficulty in our life. So I love those two metaphors, analogies for life. We're just a swinging door, but when we put a lot of attachment and feeling, and I'm not trying to say, and I'm sure that Suzuki is not trying to say that feeling is a bad thing. We just recognize that this is where difficulty comes from, especially when we become attached to feeling. And if you are having, for example, a particularly intense meditation, and it's like I'm trying so hard to force myself to not move and to not think, that intense kind of anxiety is coming from an attachment to some kind of feeling, and it's something from the ego. The ego is what thinks, oh, I better not screw up this meditation. But your deepest self is just water that's knows itself to be part of this river, right? And when we're in meditation, you might experience that. When you let go of this feeling of separation, when we let go of trying to do anything that is from the ego, we just feel absorbed. That's it. And this is the closest thing that we will experience to death in our living experience, is when we meditate and let all that fall away, because we become one with everything. We can experience at least a little bit of that. So when the ego falls away, we're no longer separated, we're no longer stuck. The ego is not there in charge. It is just oneness. It's beautiful. The next one is Thich Nhat Hanh, Peace is Every Step. This is another beautiful book. So this is like some ideas for how to be totally in the present that are not going to be as like intense. I'm trying to fight away the thoughts, and I'm just like inviting yourself into the present moment. So talks about conscious breathing. There are a number of breathing techniques you can use to make life vivid and more enjoyable. First exercise is very simple. As you breathe in, say to yourself, breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out as you breathe out. Just that. You recognize your in-breath as an in-breath, your out-breath as an out-breath. You don't even need to recite the whole sentence. You can just use 2 words, in, out. This technique can help you keep your mind on your breath. As you practice, your breath will become peaceful and gentle. Your mind and body will become peaceful and gentle. It's not a difficult exercise. In just a few minutes, you can realize the fruit of meditation. Breathing in and out is very important, and it is enjoyable. Our breathing is the link between our body and our mind. Sometimes our mind is thinking of one thing and our body is doing another, and mind and body are not unified. By concentrating on our breathing in and out, we bring body and mind back together, become whole again. Conscious breathing is an important bridge. To me, breathing is a joy that I cannot miss. Every day I practice conscious breathing, and in my small meditation room, I have calligraphied this sentence: breathe, you are alive. Just breathing and smiling can make us very happy, because when we breathe consciously, we recover ourselves completely and encounter life in the present moment. There's, growing amount of scientific evidence that we can point to that talks about the importance of just being mindful of your breath, especially breathing deeply from the belly. But just any time, any situation that we can just connect our minds to the breath is beautiful. When we're practicing in Kung Fu and we're striking, we should be connecting to the breath. Now, it's an intense breath, it's an explosive breath, but that's still teaching our minds to focus on the breath. And that brings us fully into the present. When we're doing Tai Chi, it's a much more relaxing, kind of calming way of attaching to the breath. But it's the same basic thing. Anytime we can just pay attention to the breath and consciously breathe, it's great. The idea of saying to yourself, in, out, is not exactly meditation in the terms of the way that we usually talk about meditation. We want as little thought as possible, but it can be a great bridge into that, just in the same way that counting the breath can work. But if you are walking down the streets or sitting in your car or whatever kind of more, daily, seemingly mundane situation you're in, just go back to the breath and you can use that. Just say in as you feel yourself breathing in, say out as you feel yourself breathing out, just to connect. Next, he is talking about present moment, wonderful moment. In our busy society, it is a great fortune to breathe consciously from time to time. We can practice conscious breathing not only while sitting in meditation, but also working at the office or home, driving our car, all the stuff that I just said. Great. So besides the simple in-out exercise, we can recite these 4 lines silently as we breathe in and out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. So he says, breathing in, I calm my body. Reciting this line is like drinking a glass of cool lemonade on a hot day. You can feel the coolness permeate your body. When I breathe in and recite this line, I actually feel my breath calming my body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. A smile can relax hundreds of muscles in your face. Wearing a smile on your face is a sign you are a master of yourself. Dwelling in the present moment. While I sit here, I don't think of anything else. I sit here and know exactly where I am. I know this is a wonderful moment. It is a joy to sit stable and at ease and return to our breathing, our smiling, our true nature. Our appointment with life is in the present moment. If we do not have peace and joy right now, when will we have peace and joy? Tomorrow, after tomorrow? What is preventing us from being happy right now? As we follow our breathing, we can say simply calming, smiling, present moment, wonderful moment. This exercise is not just for beginners. Many of us who have practiced meditation and conscious breathing for 40 or 50 years continue to practice in the same way, because this kind of exercise is so important and so easy. Next one is called Cookie of Childhood. When I was 4 years old, my mother used to bring me a cookie every time she came home from the market. I always went to the front yard and took my time eating it. Sometimes half an hour or 45 minutes for one cookie. I would take a small bite and look up at the sky. Then I would touch the dog with my feet and take another small bite. I enjoyed being there with the sky, the earth, the bamboo thickets, the cat, the dog, the flowers. I was able to do that because I did not have much to worry about. I did not think of the future. I did not regret the past. I was entirely in the present moment with my cookie, the dog, the bamboo thickets, the cat, and everything. It is possible to eat our meals as slowly and joyfully as I ate the cookie of my childhood. Maybe you have the impression that you have lost the cookie of your childhood, but I am sure it is still there, somewhere in your heart. everything is still there. And if you really want it, you can find it. Eating mindfully is a most important practice of meditation. We can eat in a way that we restore the cookie of our childhood. The present moment is filled with joy and happiness. If you are attentive, you will see it. After I had been practicing meditation and martial arts for a couple of years, I had this incredible moment. This is the cereal of my childhood. I was like 17, 18 years old, and I was eating a bowl of cereal. And let me tell you, I was a cereal connoisseur. I went to every different store to find the best cereal. It's not just about the flavor, it's also about the texture. So it'd have like different like crunchy stuff and stuff that got soggy, and I put it in the same bowl so I could take my time. Because if you're going to eat a bowl of cereal over a half an hour, like I would sometimes, you got to have some kind of crunch left over at the end, or you're just drinking soup. So I took a bite of this cereal one day, and I chewed it a couple of times, and I swallowed it, and I was like so in the present, in the sensation of chewing that it felt as if an entire lifetime passed in that chewing, swallowing. And I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is what enlightenment is. This is what life is. It's just about eating cereal. And like, we don't need anything else. If you want to go live in an ashram somewhere, wonderful. You don't have to. I'm not going to claim that I am, fully enlightened, whatever that means. But I will say that in the moments that we choose to just be in the present with our cereal or our cookie, there's nothing else. Like that samurai saying that I was talking about the other day in class, there is surely no more important thing, no higher purpose than this present moment. That's it. So use your meals as an opportunity to do this, and eat slowly and enjoy it. There's this documentary about John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and I can't remember which one of them is talking about it, but they're talking about like eating sausages and just like loving the sausage and eating it slowly and just fully enjoying it, and just loving. If you like love your food and you eat it slowly, it's a much better experience, but it's also better for your digestion. If you eat real fast, you just shovel your food down. It's like you wonder why your stomach hurts. You wonder why you come to class after eating a pizza in a half an hour and you're like, barf in class. It's because you should have eaten more slowly. You should probably eat earlier before class starts, or just wait until class is done. The next part is tangerine meditation. If I offer you a freshly picked tangerine to enjoy, I think the degree to which you enjoy it will depend on your mindfulness. If you are free of worries and anxiety, you will enjoy it more. If you are possessed by anger or fear, the tangerine may not be very real to you. Try not to be possessed by anger and fear, no matter what you're eating. It's just a good idea. On one day, I offered a number of children a basket filled with tangerines. I assumed that he knew the children, because otherwise it'd be kind of creepy. The basket was passed around, and each child took one tangerine and put it in his or her palm. We each looked at our tangerine, and the children were invited to meditate on its origins. They saw not only their tangerine, but also its mother, the tangerine tree. With some guidance, they began to visualize the blossoms in the sunshine and the rain. Then they saw petals falling down and the tiny green fruit appear. The sunshine and the rain continued, and the tiny tangerine grew. Now someone has picked it, and the tangerine is here. After seeing this, each child was invited to peel the tangerine slowly, noticing the mist and the fragrance of the tangerine, and then bring it up to his or her mouth, and then have a mindful bite and full awareness of the texture and taste of the fruit and the juice coming out. We ate slowly like that. Each time you look at a tangerine, you can see deeply into it. You can see everything in the universe in one tangerine. When you peel it and smell it, it's wonderful. You can take your time eating a tangerine and be very happy. So this is another example, just eating mindfully, just being present with whatever it is that you're doing, that is a really great example of what we mean by intense focus. You can be so fully focused on that visualization of a tangerine's life cycle that nothing else pops into your mind. And it's relaxing and enjoying, not anxiety inducing. So last book, and we're kind of running late, so I'm going to speed through this last one. This is one of my favorites, Zen and the Art of Archery. There are two sections where this author kind of refers to the same type of idea. So if you haven't read this book, it's great. It is 81 pages long. So I think any of you listening to this can handle this. So this is a German philosopher who's on his journey learning Zen in Japan, and he decided to take up Zen archery. And it's a, not a super involved journey, fairly short, 81 pages, but he really discusses a couple of key ideas and experiences in a really wonderful way that really sticks with me. So this is him talking to his teacher. And I don't know what his discussed right before this, but we're going to go on. He says, maybe I understand what you're hinting at with this comparison, I remarked, but am I not in an entirely different situation? When I have drawn the bow, the moment comes when I feel, unless the shot comes at once, I shan't be able to endure the tension. I'm holding on to it so tight. And when that happens, what happens then? Merely that I get out of breath. So I must loose the shot whether I want to or not, because I can't wait for it any longer. You have described only too well, replied the master, where the difficulty lies. Do you know why you cannot wait for the shot and why you get out of breath before it has come? The right shot at the right moment does not come because you do not let go of yourself. You do not wait for fulfillment, but brace yourself for failure. So long as that is so, you have no choice but to call forth something yourself that ought to happen independently of you. And so long as you call it forth, your hand will not open in the right way. Like the hand of a child, your hand does not burst open like the skin of a ripe fruit. I remember what he was talking about before this. He's talking about when a child is like holding on to your finger, and then you offer it like a toy. It lets go of your finger like it doesn't even exist, like it never happened. And this is the way that we should be letting go in the moment. You're in class and you let go of whatever mistake you just made or whatever amazing thing that you just did. You let go of the last breath, the last thoughts. You let go of whatever anxieties you bring into it. Even in meditation, you're just letting go of whatever that just was, even the breath, and you're just here now. And I love this this metaphor of the ripe fruit. You have like a perfectly ripe fruit, you bite into it, or it falls from the tree onto the ground and it like explodes because it's so perfectly ripe. It's not rotten, you didn't hold on for it for too long, but it's perfectly ripe. So that's how we should let go. And you can imagine you're shooting a bow and you have to release the bow. If you are releasing it with some kind of tension, and that usually comes from the mind being attached, then the shot goes off and it's not right. So the next part is kind of related to this. Great. Did somebody move these? Weeks went by without my advancing a step. At the same time, I discovered that this did not disturb me in the least. Had I grown tired of the whole business? Whether I learned the art or not, whether I experienced what the master meant by it or not, whether I found the way to Zen or not, all this suddenly seemed to have become so remote, so indifferent, that it no longer troubled me. Several times I made up my mind to confide in the master, but when I stood before him, I lost courage. I was convinced that I would never hear anything but the monotonous answer, "Don't ask, practice." So I stopped asking. I stopped asking and would have liked to stop practicing too. had not the master held me inexorably in his grip. I lived from one day to the next, did my professional work as best I might, and in the end ceased to bemoan the fact that all my efforts of the last few years had become meaningless. Then one day, after a shot, the master made a deep bow and broke off the lesson. Just then, it shot, he cried, as I stared at him bewildered. And when I at last understood what he meant, I couldn't suppress a sudden whoop of delight. What I have said, the master told me severely, was not praise, only a statement that ought not to touch you, nor was my bow meant for you are entirely innocent of this shot. You remained this time absolutely self-oblivious and without purpose in the highest tension, so that the shot fell from you like a ripe fruit. Now go on practicing as if nothing had happened. This is a great book. You should read this. I had this wonderful experience. We brought these super experienced, wonderful martial artists to practice and do a demonstration at our second school when we opened it in Michigan. And there was an Iaido demonstration. Iaido is a Japanese sword art, and it's using a katana, the traditional Japanese sword. And they rolled these tatami mats, not our like rubber tatami, but like actual grass mats that are very thick. And when you roll them up, they're roughly like the size of a leg or a thick arm. And the demonstration that they do is to take the sword and slice through it. And if you do it correctly, the whole thing, well, if you do it incorrectly, the whole thing just gets knocked over. But when you do it correctly, you can slice cleanly through it, and it makes like a nice clean line, and the bottom part stays as the top part falls down. But one of the, I think it was 3 or 4 gentlemen who were doing this demonstration, one of the times it was like his second or third swipe at this tatami. It was such a clean and perfect cut that the top part of the tatami did not fall off. It stayed on. He sliced clean through it and it stayed up. And it was like out of a movie. It was so cool. He and the teacher got down on their knees and bowed to the tatami. And it was the same kind of thing. It was a bow to the moment. It was a bow to the practice. It wasn't a bow to the ego. Now, I'll be honest. If I was in that situation, I might feel pretty sweet about myself. But we're not supposed to be that way. You might be sparring with somebody or grappling with somebody, and you get them and you're like, I'm pretty amazing. That's not what we're supposed to do. Now, it's not to say that you should beat yourself up for it. It means that you just let it go. And this is important because we got to be able to let go of whatever our ego is attaching to, be it bad or good, because it is all just an attachment that takes us out of the present moment. So when you sit, sometimes you'll have kind of an anxious, stressful meditation. Sometimes you'll have sweetest meditation that feels like you just slice through that tatami and you finish it and you're like, yeah, that was it. All of that is ego. Let it go. Just practice. Sit comfortably. I talked for too long, so we're doing a short, powerful meditation. Close eyes, spine straight, eyes up, turn, relax, watch the breath. Let go of all thoughts, worries, and cares. Be here now.